got notice of them at least a couple of days before, including subjects and topics, like, for example, focusing on former Vice President Mike Pence and the pressure campaign that the Trump administration, including President Trump and his allies, had on local election officials, the Justice Department, and so on. But tomorrow's hearing really catching everybody off guard. Reminder, the House is out, as is the Senate, of course. The July 4th recess well underway. This hearing being scheduled suggests they have something so pressing that they cannot wait even a single day longer to hold this hearing. Like you mentioned, we don't know who the witness will be yet, but we do know it could be somebody that the committee already spoke to behind closed doors. Remember, they've interviewed 1,000 witnesses. They have 140,000 pages of documents and issued subpoenas to 100 other people. It could be somebody like Alex Holder, who Benny Thompson, the chair, said last week they need more time as they look over his footage. He's the documentary filmmaker behind that hours-long documentary that was planned to come out about the Trump family. And it could be someone like Pat Cipollone, who we know the committee is interested in hearing from on a public stage. We have not yet heard, again.
So what we have is a recess in Congress where most of these people aren't even going to be there. A surprise hearing that was announced out of nowhere, set for 1 p.m. today. They're not revealing anything about what evidence is going to be put forth, and they're not revealing who's going to testify. Now, they can talk about the footage that they have and this documentary filmmaker, but one thing they will not tell you and one thing they will not do is just release all the surveillance footage from that day. There's tens of thousands of hours. This is Washington, D.C. with the most cameras in the world, and they won't release that footage because that would vindicate most of the people that are still in jail. Again, this is Ultra MAGA Media reporting. I have to tell you the things that other fake conservatives won't want to cover. But I know somebody that will not be at this hearing because he mysteriously died. And there's nothing to see here, so just move along. I'm just a wacky conspiracy theorist that's going to throw some things at you. Now, out of all places I found this was a random TikTok video. And it got me looking into the rest of this.
That's some really coincidental and, fortunate timing for the January 6th committee. Because, see, now that's one less witness to be able to testify to what Pelosi did and did not do. Very interesting.
So, yesterday, Michael Stenger, who was the Sergeant of Arms, who was in charge of security on January 6th, has died. Now, this guy also retired the day after January 6th. But it gets deeper than that. Cause of death? Unknown. Now, was he suicided like the rest of them? You guys all remember them coming out after January 6th and saying, this person died at the Capitol, or this person died as a result of the Capitol insurrection. Do you guys remember all of this? There was an Officer Lies Ben Good, which was just a nod within the name itself. I mean, lies been good. Their lies have been
Okay,
good.
this is getting weird. Y'all need to stay with me on this. Previously, I made a video with this tweet in the background stating that Michael Stenger, the Senate Sergeant at Arms, on January 6, 2021, has been confirmed dead. News of his death first hit Twitter. This is the earliest confirmed tweet I can find about his death, which came from Chad Pergram at 6:38 p.m. Central Standard Time. Stay with me. The time is important here. I tried to see if any other news source was reporting on his death, and this is what comes up. Even with his middle initial thrown in, still nothing. And keep in mind, I found out about all this nearly an hour after it hit Twitter. But when you turn on a VPN and search for his name while you're connected out of the country, you do have at least one article that appears talking about his death. But the article does not give any details. It just says it's been confirmed by Fox News, and then it just lists his employment history and working at the Secret Service and everything. But then I found another article about his death, and it's identical. It's literally copy and paste. But then a friend of mine did a little more digging, and she found this article right here. Now note the time. It says June 28th, 2022, 1:02 a.m. But what's really weird about this article, besides the time, and we're going to get in on that in a second, is that it's already talking about widespread condolences / outrage over his death and over his handling about January 6th. Which is really strange, because if you think this article is written after the story broke on Twitter, then it'd only been maybe an hour. So there wouldn't be a whole lot of widespread condolences and everything, as the story would still be coming out. And then here it is, it's stating that there's already Twitter posts speculating it's suicide. Now, while of course, there's going to be speculation, I have seen absolutely no mention of him actually being suicided. There's been jokes about him being Epstein. Now, back to this time, I Googled this name, which comes up with a physics graduate from Nepal, which is the exact same thing that his bio on that blog says. So immediately after finding that blogger's location, I Googled what time it is currently in Nepal. And in Nepal, it is 7:25 a.m. How did he find out about a story 6 hours ago before it just broke on Twitter around 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time? This makes absolutely zero sense to me. This article was written 6 hours before it broke on Twitter. And again, this blogger is in Nepal. How would he know before anyone else in the U.S. knew? Okay,
So I find this very intriguing.
This is getting weird.
I find this very intriguing and interesting. Now, would I say that they're wiping people out? Would I say that any witnesses or people that could counter the narrative to January 6th have been removed, Clintoned, Arkansided? Well, first you had the Capitol police officer who was on duty during the riot died by suicide. This was days after the Capitol event. And then there was an officer, Jeffrey Smith, police officer suicide after January 6th, 9 days after they ruled as a line of duty death. So they didn't even allow him a suicide death. They said it was in the line of duty, even though he committed suicide or was suicided 9 days later. Now, 4 of the officers who responded to the U.S. Capitol attack have died by suicide. The District of Criminals Police Department on Monday said 2 more police officers who responded to the January 6th party at the U.S. Capitol have died by suicide, bringing the number of known suicides by officers who guarded the building that day to 4. Kyle DeFratag was found dead on July 10th, so that's a month after. Jeffrey Smith, 9 days after. Howard Liebengood, that was 2 days after. 4 people died on the day of the violence. No, they died months and days after the quote-unquote insurrection. And they all tried to make them seem like they died on that day, and all the media put it out to make it look like they died that day. So, who is the Sergeant of Arms? And what do they do? Now, this specific Sergeant of Arms is a man named Michael Stanger, who just died yesterday. And as you saw in the previous clip, that a blogger from Nepal had the story 6 hours before it even broke in U.S. media. Sergeant of Arms dies. Sergeant of Arms in charge of Capitol security on January 6th dies under mysterious circumstances. The Senate Sergeant at Arms, who was charged with securing the Capitol building on January 6th, has died under circumstances that are still a mystery. Now, Fox confirmed this at 8 p.m. On June 27th. Stanger was forced out of his position after the Capitol siege on January 6th. He literally was out of a job on January 7th. The Capitol building being overrun by what they call far-right extremists. We know they were FBI informants and agents, but let's go with far-right extremists, as well as peaceful Trump supporters who were let into the building by Capitol Police. And we know that because of the video of them opening the magnetic doors. House Sergeant at Arms Paul Irving subsequently gave his resignation notice as Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi announced. Capitol Police Chief Stephen Sun also resigned effective January 16 and left a letter filled with heavy criticism of the weak Capitol security, which followed upon numerous warnings given to Congress. And this goes back to Nancy Pelosi knowing how big the threat was going to be, and most of the people in the government knowing how bad how big the crowd was going to be compared to the security they had, and turning a blind eye to it, or in my estimation, letting it happen. Because they had their federal ops in place, they had their intelligence ops in place, they had their informants in place, and they wanted it to play out, and they wanted it much more bloody than they actually got it. They did a pretty good job, but they wanted it to be full-on anarchy to make it look like these Trump supporters were literally trying to overthrow the country. They use words like democracy, although I don't know what that word actually means since we don't have one. We're not a democracy. We're barely a constitutional republic. We're a crony capitalist state that's pretty much ran by the Israeli lobby. If you're wondering what the Sergeant at Arms is, it's basically the Sergeant at Arms and doorkeeper, elected by members, serves as the protocol and chief law enforcement officer and is principal administrative manager for most support services in the U.S. Senate. A doorkeeper was also necessary to control access to Senate sessions, which were private for 6 years. As chief law enforcement officer of the Senate, the Sergeant of Arms is charged with maintaining security in the Capitol and all Senate buildings. So that's what the Sergeant of Arms is tasked with doing. Now, if you don't find this very odd that they call a mystery committee hearing, and on the same day this guy dies on top of the 4 previous suicides, all linked to Pelosi, all linked to people that criticized Pelosi, then you just can't be a conspiracy theorist anymore. Senate Sergeant at Arms Michael Stenger, who was in charge of securing the Capitol on January 6th, dies suddenly just one day before Capitol riot is set to call surprise hearing to present newly uncovered evidence. Did he have evidence on him? This could be something that he might have had on him that they got. The man in charge of protecting the Senate during the Capitol riot has just died a day before the committee hearing. 71 years old. He resigned amid criticism that he failed to react effectively. He actually resigned because Pelosi told him to resign. His sudden death on Monday came the same day as an unexpected additional hearing of the committee investigating the, quote, riot was announced. This is a picture of him, and I will show you a clip of him criticizing, so you know he didn't want to resign.
Chairwoman Klobuchar, Chairman Peters, Ranking Member Blunt, Ranking Member Portman. The National Capital Region is a unique environment for law enforcement. The U.S. Capitol Police, in conjunction with the Sergeants at Arms, work to provide security of the Capitol complex and its population. But there is a shared responsibility with other law enforcement groups within the region. Sharing of information and resources is paramount for success. Once assuming the position of the Senate Sergeant at Arms, enhancement of the working relationship between my office and U.S. Capitol Police had been a priority. I am a proponent of the concept of intelligence-led policing. This methodology can be used in assessing threats to individual members as well as threats to the campus. As in all intelligence operations, it is only as good as the analyst assessing it. And that assessment is then placed in the appropriate hands to take steps in order to mitigate any threats. We have to be careful of returning to a time when possibility rather than probability drives security planning. For the events of January 6th certainly reveal that a review of intelligence should be done. Returning to the concept of possibility driving security operations may result in the poor use of resources. This is the constant give and take of security planning. There is an opportunity to learn lessons from the events of January 6th. Investigation should be considered as to the funding and traveling what appears to be professional agitators. First Amendment rights should.
And that's the line right there that probably sealed his fate. And I'll play it for you one more time with a little better quality. He called out that there were paid professional agitators present at the Capitol. Just opening the link here. Just give me 1 second. Ultra MAGA Media, bringing you the latest in Ultra MAGA, Dark MAGA news. Now, Michael Stenger testified that there were paid professional agitators on January 6th. Now he's dead. Let me just reopen this page. I'm just reopening the page because I want it in better quality so you guys hear it. I can actually pull it up on the screen as well. Oh, I also have a new Twitter that I'll link in the description for you guys. Haven't had it for a few weeks, but we got it back.
This is the constant give and take of security planning. There is an opportunity to learn lessons from the events of January 6th. Investigations should be considered as to the funding and travel and what appears to be professional agitators. First Amendment rights should always be considered in conjunction with these investigations. Law enforcement coordination in the National Capital Region.
This man called out professional agitators, which means FBI and other intelligence operations on the ground working with federal informants and many other people to pull this event off, and was told to resign literally the day after. I mean, it was January 7th that he was told he was out of a job. He didn't resign because he thought he did a bad job. He was told to resign because he was going to speak up. Now, this in line with the other 4 officers, just very odd. And I want to play this video one more time for you guys so you understand just how crazy this story is. And shout out to this guy for making the video.
Okay, this is getting weird. Y'all need to stay with me on this. Previously, I made a video with this tweet in the background stating that Michael Stenger, the Senate Sergeant of Arms, on January 6, 2021, has been confirmed dead. News of his death first hit Twitter. This is the earliest confirmed tweet I can find about his death, which came from Chad Pergram at 6:38 p.m. Central Standard Time. Stay with me. The time is important here. I tried to see if any other news source was reporting on his death, and this is what comes up. Even with his middle initial thrown in, still nothing. And keep in mind, I found out about all this nearly an hour after it hit Twitter. But when you turn on a VPN and search for his name while you're connected out of the country, you do have at least one article that appears talking about his death. But the article does not give any details. It just says it's been confirmed by Fox News, and then it just lists his employment history and working at the Secret Service and everything. But then I found another article about his death, and it's identical. It's literally copy and paste. But then a friend of mine did a little more digging, and she found this article right here. Now note the time. It says June 28th, 2022, 1:02 a.m.
And I can confirm this. Very hard article to find. A blogger from Nepal. This is not going to show up in your Google searches. The former Sergeant of Arms at the United States Senate, Michael Stenger, has been announced death. His death has grabbed the nation's attention, and people are expressing condolences to him. Now, I did not see any condolences before the 8 p.m. Eastern Fox News report on this. There was definitely no condolences because nobody even knew he had died. Nobody read this Nepal blog, so that's a very weird thing to add. He had a great profile as he served in various important positions related to the government. He was a highly experienced government official. His losses mounted by people he worked with throughout his career. He received wide criticism from people and government officials because of his lackluster behavior in the mob attack on the Capitol that caused massive destruction of property. Now, what happened? As per report of multiple sources, in recent posts, Fox tweeted and they confirmed his death, and it was a shock to people following the case. People have taken to the internet to talk about his death and are also developing conspiracy theories, as they say, because we're crazy conspiracy theories. Michael worked close to the government in various important positions. He spent 35 years of his life as a Secret Service officer. In 2008, he was appointed to Assistant Director of the USSS Office of Government and Public Affairs. While in this position, he coordinated various groups, including the United States Congress. In 2011, he joined the Sergeant at Arms of the United States Senate. Initially, he joined the office as Assistant Sergeant of Arms and was nominated as the 41st Sergeant of Arms years later. As of now, the cause of death has not been revealed. The only information available is that he has died, and no more about him is known. So you have a mysterious death the same day as they announce a secret, or not secret, but a surprise hearing for the January 6th committee where they have just brand new evidence that came out of nowhere. I don't know about you guys. Maybe it's the conspiracy theory and conspiracy theorist in me. But something is not right here. This is a very fishy story. 1 p.m. today is the hearing. So I expect to be going live around 1 p.m. To see what this new evidence is. And if I get any other information about this, I will definitely update you guys on this. So far we got a very mysterious death. This is on top of the already 4 suicides that have happened after the fact of people that were at the Capitol. This might be number 5. It could have been a medical anomaly. They could have killed him another way. They could have used the old Arkansas. But I do not believe this was just a standard run-of-the-mill death. I do believe something sinister happened in this case, and they are doing everything to cover their tracks, to fill all holes on the many mistakes they made on January 6th. That's why they're not releasing all the footage. If they really wanted to get to the bottom of it and show the American people what happened on that day, all footage would be released and we would be able to decipher for ourselves what happened. And I don't believe the Sergeant at Arms that was supposed to be the head of security was privy to the inside members of Capitol Police that were going rogue and working with intelligence operators and people from the CIA and the FBI to let quote-unquote rioters into the building. But he had to be the fall guy for it, and Nancy Pelosi, the criticism she was taking for not upping security, I believe he was one of the people that called her out, and they made him resign. So We're going to keep an eye on this story. I am Ultra MAGA Media. Shout out to Dark MAGA. And as always, I will see you guys in the next one.